The Galactic Council had convened an emergency session for the third time in a standard cycle, their crystalline chambers humming with the nervous energy of 12 species who had just witnessed something unprecedented. Ambassador Krell of the Vortani Empire shifted his forearms uneasily as he reviewed the holographic displays floating before the assembled delegates. "The humans have refused our ultimatum," announced Prime Counselor Vex, his voice carrying the weight of authority. That had governed the galaxy for 3 millennia. They have 24 of their planetary rotations to comply with relocation protocols, or we will proceed with planetary acquisition. The human representative, a middle-aged woman named Director Hayes, sat calmly at the lone table designated. For her species, Earth had been granted observer status only recently, their technological development still centuries behind the Council's advanced civilizations. The planet's rich mineral deposits and strategic location had made it valuable, but its inhabitants were considered primitive and expendable. "Director Hayes," Vex continued, "your species has demonstrated admirable resilience, but surely you understand the futility of resistance. The combined fleets of the Council represent firepower that could reduce your world to cosmic dust within hours." Hayes stood slowly, her movements deliberate and measured. "Prime Counselor, with respect, I believe there has been a fundamental misunderstanding about humanity's capabilities." A ripple of what might have been amusement passed through the assembled delegates. The Zelkari representative, General Voss, leaned forward with interest. His species had conquered 47 worlds in the past century alone, and he found the humans' confidence oddly fascinating. "Please enlighten us," Voss said, his mandibles clicking with barely contained mirth. Hayes activated a small device from her pocket. The chamber's central display immediately shifted to show a series of images. Vast underground installations, orbital platforms that hadn't been there a week ago, and massive ships emerging from what appeared to be empty space. For the past 50 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment, Hayes explained. "We've monitored your communications, studied your military strategies, and quietly built our defenses. What you see here represents only a fraction of our true capabilities." The display shifted to show Earth's moon, but instead of the familiar cratered surface, it revealed a complex network of weapons platforms and shield generators. The entire satellite had been hollowed out and converted into a fortress. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Krill. "Our sensors detected no such construction." "Your sensors detected what we allowed them to detect," Hayes replied. "Humanity learned long ago that survival often depends on appearing weaker than you actually are." The next image showed Mars, but this was not the red planet the Council had catalogued. Massive cities sprawled across its surface, connected by transport tubes and protected by atmospheric processors. Hundreds of ships moved between orbital stations that dwarfed anything in the Council's fleet. "Mars has been fully terraformed and colonized for 30 years, Hayes continued. "We've established similar colonies on 6 other worlds in our system, each one heavily fortified and connected by our own faster-than-light communication network." General Voss's confidence began to waver. Even if this is true, 12 species, working together, possess overwhelming numerical superiority. Hayes smiled, and there was something in that expression that made several delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. "General, you're thinking like a conventional military commander. Humanity doesn't fight conventional wars." The display now showed a star map of the local sector, with red dots marking the locations of every Council fleet and military installation. The precision was disturbing. They had information that should have been classified at the highest levels. "Every communication you've sent, every strategic meeting you've held, every fleet movement you've made, we've been listening," Hayes explained. "Your cybersecurity assumes that primitive species lack the capability to breach your networks. That assumption has cost you dearly. The images shifted to show internal security footage from Council facilities meetings that had taken place. In supposedly secure locations, classified documents that had been copied without detection, and personnel records that revealed every weakness and vulnerability in their command structure. How? Vex demanded, his composure finally cracking. We've been inside your systems for decades, Hayes replied. When you first made contact with Earth, you insisted on installing communication and monitoring equipment. What you didn't realize was that we reverse-engineered every component and used your own technology to infiltrate your networks. The display now showed real-time feeds from Council ships throughout the sector. Every vessel's location, weapon status, and crew complement was visible in perfect detail. You have superior individual technology, Hayes acknowledged, but you've never faced an adversary that could coordinate perfectly across multiple star systems simultaneously. Every one of your ships is currently being tracked by our defense network. Every communication is being monitored. Every strategy is known to us before you implement it. The chamber fell silent, except for the hum of the atmospheric processors. The delegates stared at the displays, realizing that their entire military structure had been compromised. What do you want? Vex asked quietly. Peace, Hayes replied simply. Humanity has no interest in conquest or expansion beyond our own system. We want to be left alone to develop as we see fit. In return, we'll keep what we've learned to ourselves. And if we refuse? Hayes's expression hardened. Then you'll discover that being technologically advanced doesn't guarantee survival when your enemy knows your every move before you make it. We've identified the exact locations of every major population center, military installation, and industrial facility in your territories. We've mapped your supply lines, cataloged your resources, and analyzed your defensive capabilities. She paused, letting the implications sink in. Humanity doesn't want war, Prime Counselor. But if you force our hand, you'll find that we've learned to be very good at it. The vote was unanimous. Earth would remain under human control, and humanity would be granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Some warnings, the delegates realized, were too dangerous to ignore.